At 8:14 on a Tuesday morning, the Strait of Hormuz looked like the surface of hell. Black smoke columns rising from 17 separate fires. Burning fuel spreading across the water in arranged sheets that the wind pushed south toward the Omani coast. Debris fields stretching across 2 nautical miles of the world's most important waterway. Fiberglass, aluminum, engine parts, things that used to be boats and were now scattered fragments settling slowly into 60 m of water. So the USS Gerald Ford was 8 nautical miles south of all of it. Her flight deck never pausing. Aircraft launching on schedule, her crew eating breakfast, her captain writing an engagement report that would circulate through every naval command on Earth before noon. 9 minutes earlier, there had been 20 boats. The Gerald Ford had been transiting the Strait of Hormuz at 758 when the E-2D Hawk orbiting at 25,000 feet above the formation detected the first contacts emerging from the Iranian coastline near Qeshm Island. Not one or two contacts, not a patrol formation. 20 vessels departing simultaneously from a small naval facility that American intelligence had been watching for 72 hours, waiting for exactly this kind-of movement. The Hawkeye's ANS 145 radar tagged all 20 contacts within 6 seconds, and the data flowed instantly through Link 16 to every ship in the strike group, every Aegis display, every combat information center screen, every bridge monitor in the formation showed the same picture at the same moment. 20 fast boats bearing 019, speed 31 knots, and accelerating course a straight line directly toward the Gerald Ford. The strike group commander had been awake for 19 hours. He looked at the contact picture for 8 seconds before he made his assessment. Battle stations across the formation. 3 northern escorts advance to intercept line. Maximum standoff from the carrier. And then a fourth order that he would think about for years afterward. He told the Gerald Ford to continue her transit. Don't slow down. Don't maneuver. Keep moving south through the strait on schedule. Because stopping the world's largest aircraft carrier in the middle of the Strait of Hormuz was exactly what 20 fast boats racing toward her at maximum speed would want. The northern escorts were USS Mitchell, USS Bulkley, and USS Nitsa, 3 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers forming a wall between the Iranian coastline and the carrier 8 nautical miles to their south. Each carried a 5-inch Mark 45 naval gun, Mark 38 chain guns, 50 caliber mounts, phalanx CIDS, and a full Aegis combat suite. Each had a crew that had been running drills for this specific scenario every week for 7 months. As the 3 destroyers accelerated north to their intercept line, the tactical action officers on all 3 ships were already building fire control solutions on the 20 incoming contacts, now showing 43 knots on the radar display and still accelerating. Radio warnings went out at 8:01 English and Farsi. All 3 destroyers broadcasting simultaneous line Brigetto Bridge and maritime distress frequencies. Iranian naval vessels on intercept course bearing toward USS Gerald Ford carrier strike group. You are entering a defensive engagement zone. Alter course immediately, or you will be engaged with lethal force. The message repeated 4 times in 90 seconds. Not one of the 20 boats altered course by a single degree. Now at 8:03 the contacts reached 47 knots. Maximum speed for IRGC Pack-Up and Thunder-class fast attack craft, and the formation spread into a line abreast configuration stretching across nearly 3 nautical miles of the strait. Electronic warfare teams on all 3 destroyers identified active radar emissions from 6 of the 20 boats. Naser 1 anti-ship missile targeting radars active and scanning. 6 boats with missile capability in a formation off 20 closing at 47 knots. Gave the strike group commander everything he needed. At 8:04, he authorized weapons free. The USS Mitchell fired first. Her Mark 45 opened up at 804 in 12 seconds. Range 7.8 nautical miles, targeting the center of the line of Brest where the radar contacts were densest. The first round missed. The fire control solution had predicted a straight course, and the target boat had left at the last second. Now an instinctive reaction to the sound of the gun firing that the Iranian crew probably didn't even consciously decide to make. The second round did not miss. It struck the 4th boat from center left directly amidships. The boat disintegrated at 7.8 nautical miles. The explosion of Pareto the Mitchell's bridge you watch as a white flash followed immediately by a black column that rose 40 m before the wind tore it apart. The USS Bulkley engaged the eastern flank simultaneously. 2 rounds. First a miss, second a direct hit on one of the 6 missile-armed boats. The Naser 1 launcher cooked off in a secondary explosion that scattered burning fuel across a 200 m radius and ignited 2 adjacent boats that had been running in tight formation. 3 boats gone from 1 hit. The USS Nitsa took the western flank. 3 rounds, 2 hits. 2 more boats destroyed in the first 60 seconds off engagement before a single IRG weapon had been fired in response. The surviving boats did not turn back. This was the detail that every tactical action officer on every ship in the formation noted in their logs within minutes of the engagement ending. Not one of the 15 surviving boats after the first 60 seconds of 5 inches gunfire altered course or reduced speed. They maintained their bearing, maintained their speed, and closed the distance to the destroyer screen, while American guns systematically worked through the formation from the flanks inward by 69 boats had been destroyed at ranges between 5 and 7.5 nautical miles. 11 remained. None had yet reached the range where their weapons were effective. At 8:07, the surviving boats crossed inside 4 nautical miles, and the Mark 38 chain guns on all 3 destroyers opened up. So 25mm high explosive rounds at a rate of 180 per minute per gun. 3 guns firing simultaneously into a formation now spread across less than 2 nautical miles of water. The chain gun engagement lasted 90 seconds and destroyed 4 more boats. One of the 6 original missile-armed boats had survived the 5 inches gun phase. It survived the opening 30 seconds of the chain gun phase. Naiad 807 and 44 seconds. It finally achieved targeting lock on the USS Mitchell, and its crew fired both Nasser 1 missiles simultaneously. The Aegis system had been tracking the boat and anticipating exactly this moment. 2 SM-2 missiles were already in the air before the Nasser ones had traveled 500 m. Both Iranian missiles were destroyed at 2.2 nautical miles from the Mitchell. The boat that fired them was destroyed 11 seconds later by chain gun fire. Onto FA-18F, Super Hornets from Gerald Ford's carrier Air Wing 8 arrived over the engagement at 0808. Descending from combat air patrol altitude at 20,000 feet, the lead aircraft made a strafing run at 400 knots and 200 feet. Its 20mm cannon destroying 1 boat and disabling another. The wingman fired an AGM-65 Maverick at the largest remaining contact, a Thunder-class craft that had somehow survived everything thrown at it for 4 minutes and was still charging south at 44 knots. So, the Maverick tracked perfectly. Impact. The secondary explosion from the boat's fuel and weapons load sent debris 150 m into the air. At 808 and 51 seconds, there were 3 boats left. 2 turned north and ran. The third did not. The third boat was a Pei-class fast attack craft, fiberglass hull, twin outboard engines, 2 crew members, no missile armament, no radar emissions, nothing on it that electronic warfare teams had flagged as a threat. It had been running in the middle of the formation the entire engagement, invisible in the chaos of 20 contacts and 6 missile-armed boats demanding priority attention. While the destroyers and Super Hornets worked through the formation, it had been steering a course that kept it behind larger contacts using the radar returns off other boats as cover the same way a submarine uses acoustic shadow. When the last missile-armed boat was destroyed at 8:07, the formation fragmented. This single pay broke south at maximum speed in a direct bearing for the USS Gerald Ford, not toward the destroyers, toward the carrier. The NHTSA's Combat Information Center flagged the contact at 809. A single fast mover bearing 182, speed 47 knots, heading directly for the Ford range from the carrier's 6.1 nautical miles. The NHTSA turned to intercept and the MH-60R helicopter that had been on anti-submarine patrol east of the formation redirected immediately. A Hellfire missile destroying the Pei at 8:11 at a range of 4.3 nautical miles from the Gerald Ford. The closest any Iranian vessel had come to an American carrier in 22 years of Gulf operations. At 8:14, the Strait of Hormuz was burning and silent. 17 boats destroyed, 2 fled, 1 destroyed alone, trying to reach the carrier. 0 American casualties, 0 damage to any U.S. vessel. The Gerald Ford had not altered course once during the entire 9 minutes. Her catapults had launched 2 aircraft during the engagement. Her crew had eaten breakfast. The Strike Group Commander engagement report was clinical and complete. 20 hostile contacts prosecuted, 17 destroyed, 2 withdrew, 1 prosecuted independently, destroyed at 4.3 nautical miles from the carrier. 0 U.S. casualties, 0 damage. Carrier operations unaffected. The classified NX was 3 paragraphs long and it tasked questions the engagement report couldn't answer. The first question was tactical. Why a straight line? Swarm tactics exist specifically to overwhelm defensive systems through deception, flanking, and saturation from multiple axes. 20 boats charging in a straight line at 3 prepared destroyers was not a swarm attack. It was a charge. And every tactical analyst who reviewed the engagement said the same thing independently. This formation had no realistic chance of reaching the carrier. The Iranian commanders who planned it knew that. So why did they plan it this way? The second question was about the pickup. When Navy divers recovered debris from the boat that had broken south toward the Ford, they found something that wasn't on any intelligence assessment of IRGC fast boat equipment bolted to the hull beneath the water line. But protected INA waterproof housing was a sensor package compact, sophisticated, and oriented forward toward where the Gerald Ford would have been if the boat had gotten closer. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a guidance system for a missile. IT was a collection device. Acoustic sensors, electromagnetic sensors, optical sensors, the kind of package you bolt to a boat when you want to get as close as possible to a target and record everything you can about it before the boat is destroyed. The third question was the one nobody could answer if the entire attack, 19 boats destroyed in plain sight, 1 boat sacrificed trying to reach the carrier, was designed to get that sensor package within close range of the Gerald Ford. What were they trying to measure, and did they get close enough to measure it? For point 3 nautical miles. The Navy's assessment was that its sensors had not been close enough to collect anything meaningful. The assessment was classified at the highest level, and the fact that it was classified at the highest level was itself an answer of a kind, because things that definitely didn't work don't get classified at the highest level. The Gerald Ford completed her Strait of Hormuz transit on schedule. The engagement was officially categorized as a decisive American tactical victory. 17 boats destroyed, 0 casualties, carrier operations unaffected. Every metric said the same thing. The U.S. Navy won completely. But in the intelligence briefings that followed, one question appeared on a single slide shown to every carrier strike group commander deploying to the Gulf in the months after. It showed a blue carrier icon, a red dot 4.3 nautical miles away, and 4 words underneath. What was it measuring? The briefer's note at the bottom said the same thing every time, that we don't know. And until we do, assume the next boat gets closer. The water burned for 6 hours. The Gerald Ford was already past the strait before the last fire went out 9 minutes. 20 boats in a question that changed how every American carrier has operated in the Gulf ever.